Welcome back. Tonight, we're traveling to a land of tiled roofs, quiet courtyards, and brush-painted scrolls. A place where time moved to the rhythm of rice planting, family rituals, and the steady turn of the seasons. This isn't a tale of kings or conquests. We won't linger in palace halls or court intrigues. Instead, we're stepping into the soft, slow world of ordinary life during the Joseon dynasty. It's a world shaped by wooden gates that creak open each morning, warm floors heated by the quiet breath of the hearth, and conversations held just above a whisper. A world of white linen hanbok, polished gourds, and shadows that stretch across stone pathways in the early light. We'll pass through village homes and market alleys, follow the scent of boiling rice, and listen to the subtle music of water basins, wind chimes, and calligraphy brushes. Nothing grand happens here. That's the beauty of it. So settle in. Let your breath match the hush of a paper screen being drawn aside. Whether you stay until the last lamp is snuffed or drift off before the morning fire is lit, the day will carry on. Gently, quietly. Let's begin. The morning in a Joseon village does not arrive with fanfare. It begins in layers like soft brush strokes across a rice paper sky. Before the sun clears the distant hills, before the chickens remember to crow, someone is already awake, usually the grandmother. She moves through the darkened room with the quiet assurance of someone who has done this 1,000 times before. The ondel floor beneath her feet is still warm from last night's fire. Its heat rises through stone channels buried beneath the home, warming bodies that sleep close to the ground. Bedding is simple. Cotton-stuffed mats and hemp blankets, folded neatly each morning and stored away in painted chests. The air inside smells faintly of wood smoke and fermented soybean paste. A good sign. It means nothing burned overnight. And dinner is still remembered by the walls. She ties back her hair, lights a small oil lamp, and heads toward the kitchen with practiced steps. The hearth must be stirred. The fire must be coaxed back to life. In the same room, the rest of the family begins to shift, not with alarm, but with rhythm. The father scratches his neck and groans softly, pulling a jacket over his shoulders before stepping outside to relieve himself behind the storage shed. The mother stretches her legs beneath the quilt before sitting upright. Her thoughts are already halfway through breakfast. Children wake in staggered fashion. One sits up and then lays back down, refusing the idea of morning. Another quietly rolls onto their side and watches the ceiling. A few still sleep deeply, their cheeks puffed against the mat, unaware of time's steady crawl. A rooster finally finds its voice. It is not the first sound of the day, but it is the one that makes the day official. From beyond the walls come other signs, doors sliding open, water being drawn, the steady thud of an axe splitting kindling. Inside, steam begins to rise from the pot. The grandmother stirs rice and soup, muttering softly, not to anyone in particular. The house smells stronger now. Wood, broth, a hint of ash. No one rushes. Morning is not a race. It is a slow unfurling. One sleeve tied, one spoon placed, one breath drawn at a time. Sun climbs, and so does the village. The hanok is quiet in its design, yet nothing about it is accidental. Built to breathe with land, it rests lightly on stone footings, its wooden bones rising from packed earth like part of the landscape itself. The roof curves gently, its edges lifting like the corner of a smile. Tiled in dark grey, it keeps the rain out and the warmth in, and it sings softly when the wind brushes past. Inside, rooms are arranged with care. No grand halls or cluttered furniture, just space, order, and the logic of movement. paper doors slide open to reveal polished floors, warmed from beneath by the ondo system, a series of heated stones that run like silent rivers below the home. In winter, people sleep close to the floor for warmth. In summer, they shift closer to the porch, where air moves freely through open windows. Each room has its use. The ambang is for the women, especially the matriarch. It holds her bedding, her sewing tools, the small altar where she prays for health and a good harvest. The sarangbang, by contrast, belongs to the men, a study, a place for reading or writing or quiet conversation over tea. Between them lies the madang, a central courtyard open to the sky, where shoes are left in neat rows and laundry flutters on a line. Walls are made of timber and clay, their surfaces cool and earthy to the touch. Windows are covered in hanji, a mulberry paper that filters sunlight into soft white glow. Light doesn't rush into a hanok. It steps gently. It lingers. There is no waste of space. Every shelf, every hook, every tucked away chest has a reason for being. Storage is vertical, built into walls or stacked in corners. Objects are few but well cared for. A polished brass mirror, a lacquered box, a comb with missing teeth that still does its job. The home smells faintly of soot and dried herbs. There is always something simmering or hanging or waiting to be used. And yet, the most noticeable feature of a hanok is its quiet. Footsteps are soft. Voices stay low. The house does not echo. It absorbs. Outside, a broom sweeps yesterday's dust into the yard. Inside, a woman folds a blanket with the kind of precision that comes from years of doing it the same way. Everything in its place, even silence. The scent of rice announces the meal. Before any word is spoken, it slips under paper doors, curls around wooden beams, and finds the noses of children still half asleep. In a Joseon home, breakfast is not large, but it is sacred in its routine, a simple offering to begin the day on balance. The kitchen, or bujeo, sits lower than the rest of the house. Here, a woman stands before the hearth, coaxing flame beneath a soot-stained cauldron. Her sleeves are tied back, her face is unreadable, focused. The rice cooks slowly, steam rising through a heavy lid. Next to the rice, a second pot simmers with miyokuk, seaweed soup, or perhaps a light broth made from anchovy and radish, seasoned with soy and a dash of sesame oil. On a small dish, fermented bean paste rests, waiting to be mixed into the meal. Side dishes are humble and familiar. Kimchi pulled from a clay jar buried at the edge of the courtyard. Pickled roots, sliced thin and soaked in vinegar. Maybe dried anchovies stir-fried in soy sauce and sugar. These are not delicacies. They are daily food, made by hand and memory. The table is low and square. Trays are placed on the floor, one for each person, with a bowl of rice at the center and small plates arranged neatly around it. The family gathers in silence, legs tucked beneath them. No one eats before the eldest lifts their spoon. Chopsticks are metal, flat and cool to the touch. Spoons are round and long-handled. The rhythm of eating is slow, steady, without interruption. No one speaks unless necessary. Food is not for chatter. It is for nourishment and for the quiet honoring of another day. A child fidgets. A father clears his throat. A grandmother chews with care. Everyone knows their portion, their place, their pace. There are no leftovers. What remains is scraped clean, the bowls rinsed with water and set aside. Rice grains are not wasted. To leave one behind is to invite hardship. When the meal ends, there is no grand gesture, just a soft murmur of thanks. Bowls are stacked, trays are wiped, and the day moves on, fueled not by feasts, but by a quiet practice meal that tastes the same as yesterday, and with luck, will again tomorrow. Outside the home, the village begins to murmur. Not loudly, not all at once, just enough to let you know the world is turning. The narrow lanes are still damp from the night, dust pressed down by dew. A rooster crows from somewhere it shouldn't be. A dog pads across packed earth, sniffing the air without urgency. Doors slide open with a soft shoosh. Someone steps out with a bucket, heading toward the well. Another carries a bundle of kindling. Sandals slap against the ground, slow and measured. No one rushes. The village paths are uneven, flanked by low stone walls and roofs that lean a little too far forward. Homes sit close together, their fences made of tied bamboo or rough timber. Chickens strut freely, weaving between feet and baskets. A cart creaks past, pulled by a tired ox that knows the route better than its driver. Vendors begin to stir. A woman lays out straw mats near the road, arranging pickled roots and dried greens in tight little mounds. Her hands move automatically. She doesn't need to look. The layout never changes. Beside her, a man sharpens his knife on a whetstone. The scraping sounds steady and familiar. He sells fish, or what's left of them, wrapped in salted paper. Children chase one another past a well, their bare feet kicking up tiny clouds of dust. A grandmother shouts half-heartedly from behind a gate, but they've already disappeared down the alley. Their laughter bounces off the walls before dissolving into the morning air. Here and there, a gate swings open with a creak. Someone steps out with a broom, sweeping the path not for guests, but for order. Clean paths mean a respectable home, even if no one visits, even if no one sees. The sounds are layered but never loud. A dog's bark, a distant hammer, someone coughing into their sleeve. From a courtyard deeper in the village, a flute plays a slow, wavering tune, someone practicing or simply passing time. There are no signposts, no official hour when the day begins, but everyone knows when it has. You can feel it in the way the shadows shorten, in the smells of cooking oil and early sweat, in the knowledge that the quiet part of the morning is over and the work part has begun. At the edge of the village, the well waits. Framed by stone and worn smooth by countless hands, it is one of the oldest presences here. No one remembers when it was dug. No one questions that it still works. The water tastes like the mountain, cold, clean, a little metallic. It wakes the tongue more than it quenches. By mid-morning, a quiet procession has formed. Women in plain hanbok take turns drawing buckets, passing ropes hand over hand. The wooden pails groan as they rise, water sloshing at the brim, dark and rippling in the sunlight. No one spills, not because they fear scalding, but because the water is worth too much to waste. Children sometimes try their luck at the crank, wobbling under the weight. If the bucket tips or the rope jerks, they earn a quick swat and a second chance. Everyone learns eventually. The well teaches patience. Further down the path, near the stream, clothes are being washed. Not in silence, but not loudly either. It's a place of soft voices, shared jokes, and long pauses. One woman scrubs a blanket against a flat stone, arms strong from years of doing exactly this. Another rinses a baby's clothes, wringing them out with practiced ease. The water is cold, even in spring. Hands go red. Knees ache from crouching. But the rhythm of the work soothes something deeper. Soap-root foam drifts on the surface, chased downstream by the current. Nearby, someone bathes a toddler with quick, efficient motions. The child shivers, gasps, then giggles. A bowl of warm water is poured over her shoulders. She sputters, then asks for more. Older children help where they can, though help is a generous word. Some fetch water in gourds, some chase frogs. A few just stand nearby, waiting to be told what to do. Laundry lines stretch between trees, their shadows dancing in the breeze. The clothes, undyed cotton, pale linens, old sashes, flutter like birds with nowhere to go. By late morning, the washing slows. The women straighten their backs, wring out their sleeves, and stretch their fingers. Conversations trail off naturally. There's nothing left to say for now. The chores are done, or done enough. The stream continues, carrying with it the loose threads of the morning. A bit of soap, a whisper, a sigh. It doesn't hold on to them. It just moves on. Beyond the village walls, the fields lie waiting. From a distance they look quiet, like flat sheets of green and brown stitched into the land. But step closer, and the hum of life returns, low, steady, constant. Farmers are already knee-deep in the earth. Some move through the paddies, planting rice seedlings in even rows. The water reaches their calves, cool and filled with flickering reflections of the sky. Each step sinks slightly, then rises with a soft squelch. It's a rhythm they know without thinking. Others hoe dry fields where vegetables grow, radishes, beans, scallions. Their tools are simple, the blades worn down by use and time. A farmer straightens for a moment, rubs his neck, then bends again. The work doesn't wait. Children too young for full labor are still expected to help. One carries a jug of water, wobbling under its weight. Another shoos away sparrows from a patch of millet, waving a flag tied to a stick. The birds are not afraid, but they leave out of politeness. A boy watches his grandfather mend a broken rake with bits of wire and twine. He's seen it done a dozen times, but today he watches carefully, as if the movement itself might teach him something. The sun climbs slowly, but the heat is already pressing into backs and shoulders. Wide-brimmed hats made of straw protect faces, though sweat still gathers along necklines and brows. No one complains. Complaints don't harvest crops. From a nearby path, the sound of wooden wheels creaking announces a cart, pulled by a cow with soft eyes and patient steps. It carries bundles of firewood and an old man riding beside them. He nods to the workers but doesn't stop. Everyone knows where he's headed. He always goes to the same tree near the pond to eat his lunch. Lunch itself is often taken in the shade of a wall or beneath a tree. A cloth bundle is unwrapped to reveal rice, maybe a pickled plum, cold soup in a gourd. No one eats much, but everyone eats enough. The work resumes without instruction. There is no whistle, no bell, just the sun shifting slightly and the understanding that there is still more to do. By now, hands are blistered, clothes are damp, and knees ache. But the fields look different. Less waiting, more finished. Progress is measured in rows, in silence, and in the familiar ache of honest labor. While the fields buzz with steady motion, the heart of the home is also at work. Behind paper doors and within shaded courtyards, women keep the rhythm of daily life turning. Not loudly, but thoroughly. Their hands are always moving. Inside, a mother crouches beside a large clay jar, lifting its heavy lid to check the pickles fermenting within. The smell is strong, but right, sour, earthy, and sharp. She presses the contents down with a clean stone, seals the jar again, and slides it back beneath the porch where it can stay cool. Another sits by the open window, turning thread into fabric. Her spinning wheel creaks with each turn, a soft wooden sigh that has underscored her mornings for years. The thread she spins will be used for summer garments, plain, durable, and hand-sewn. By the hearth, a girl grinds soybeans with slow circular movements. The paste will be shaped into bricks and dried in the sun, then aged into sauces that last the winter. The air smells faintly of salt, earth, and thyme. In the shade of the courtyard, bundles of herbs hang from twine, drying in patient silence. Mugwort, chrysanthemum, and perilla leaves. Some will become tea. Others will be used in cooking or steeped into remedies passed down through mothers and grandmothers. A grandmother patches a tear in an old hanbok, the thread carefully matched, the stitches small and firm. She doesn't speak much, but her hands carry stories. Every rip and repair is a chapter. Children assist where they can. A daughter carries a bucket of water across the courtyard, concentrating hard not to spill. Her younger brother trails behind, pretending to help but mostly inspecting bugs between the stones. From the kitchen, the soft sound of boiling broth returns. It's watched closely, stirred occasionally. Meals may be simple, but the timing is precise. Overcooked greens are a waste. Burnt rice is embarrassing. Outside, a hen clucks from beneath the wooden steps. Someone's left feed nearby, a few grains scattered in a shallow dish. Even the chickens have their place in the household routine. No one shouts. No one rests for long. There is always something to prepare, repair, refill, or set aside for later. The home is not fast, but it is full. Every room, every corner, every hand doing its part, not for applause, but because that's how the day carries on. By midday, the air settles into a heavy stillness. The sun, now high and sure of itself, presses down on rooftops and shoulders alike. Even the chickens, so vocal in the morning, retreat to shady corners. The village does not sleep, but it slows, noticeably, purposefully. In the fields, farmers straighten their backs, rub their knees, and step away from the rows. They gather beneath the broad leaves of a nearby tree or beside a low wall where a patch of shade still lingers. Hats come off. Foreheads are wiped with sleeves. Lunch is brought in small bundles, cloth-wrapped and tied with practiced knots. Inside, there's a scoop of rice, a few slices of pickled radish, maybe a boiled egg, if the hens have been generous. Cold soup waits in a gourd bottle, the broth tasting faintly of seaweed and thyme. No one speaks much. The food is enough. A mother fans her child with a folded fan made from bamboo and paper. The boy dozes in her lap, his face pink and warm. She taps his forehead gently, not to wake him, just to check he's still cool enough. Elsewhere, a merchant sits beneath his stall's awning, chewing slowly and watching dust swirl in the light. His wares are untouched for now. No one shops during the noon pause. It would be impolite, as if asking a bird to fly when the air is too thick. At the well, a few women linger, speaking in low tones between sips of barley tea. Their voices are softer now. Even the gossip takes a break. A girl dips her hands into the bucket and presses cool water to her cheeks, sighing like someone twice her age. In courtyards, old men nap upright with arms folded and hats pulled low. Nearby, dogs stretch out on cool earth, ears twitching, eyes closed. A lone fly circles lazily before disappearing into a shadow. Even the breeze, if it comes, moves slowly, as if it too feels the weight of the hour. There are no bells to mark this pause, no command to rest. But everyone knows it. The body knows it, the land knows it. Work will resume soon enough, but not yet. For now, stillness is allowed. It is expected. And for a short while, the world holds its breath. In a quiet corner of the home, away from the busyness of cooking fires and children's chatter, sits the family altar. It is not large or ornate. Just a low wooden table with simple offerings, a bowl of rice, a dish of salt, maybe a few coins or dried chestnuts. A small white candle stands in its holder. Its wax has run many times before. Above the altar hangs a sheet of paper with calligraphy written in careful strokes. The characters are familiar, recited often, but never casually. They carry weight not because of volume, but because of repetition. This space belongs to the ancestors. They are not gone, not truly. They are simply unseen, watching quietly from the edges of the day. Their presence lingers in the corners of rooms and the rustle of leaves outside the gate. You do not speak to them aloud, not unless you're alone, and even then, only briefly. Each morning and evening, someone bows, often the oldest in the house, though anyone may do it. A few sticks of incense are lit. The smoke rises in thin threads, carrying scent and memory together. It curls up past the beams of the roof and disappears into the rafters, like a whispered message no one expects to be returned. In the evenings, families prepare for Jesa, the ancestral rites. Food is laid out on lacquered trays. The arrangement follows a strict order: soups to the left, meat to the right, rice in the center. Nothing is accidental. Everything has a reason. Children watch, trying to memorize the placements, though they'll need to be reminded again. In the countryside, the mountain spirits are respected too. A pile of stones beside the path receives a bow from passing farmers. A gourd of rice wine is left at a tree with twisted roots. No explanations are given. These rituals don't ask for understanding. They only ask to be continued. Sometimes, small paper charms are tied above doors or tucked behind roof beams. They're not showy. Most visitors won't even notice them, but they're there for protection, for luck, for the things that can't be seen but are still felt. And if, during the quiet of the night, the wind moves through the paper walls just a little too sharply, or a shadow flickers across the tatami with no clear source, no one makes a fuss. They just bow slightly toward the altar, just in case. In a Joseon village, children rise early, though not always willingly. Their mornings begin with simple chores: sweeping the courtyard, fetching water, feeding chickens. No one is exempt. Even the smallest hands can carry a twig broom or shoo a hen from the steps. Boys and girls grow up side by side at first, but their paths begin to diverge early. A boy of 6 or 7 may be sent to the village, Seodang, the neighborhood school. It's a single room, bare but clean, with paper windows that let in the morning sun. The teacher sits cross-legged at the front, back straight, beard neatly combed, voice calm but firm. Lessons begin with Confucian texts, the 1,000-character classic, memorized line by line. Each character traced carefully with an ink brush, dipped again and again into the inky black well. The sound of brush against paper is constant, like soft rain. Boys chant in unison, their voices unsure at first, then stronger. They sit on floor mats, legs tucked beneath them, occasionally shifting when knees go numb. There are no desks, only small low tables, black with age, polished by generations of elbows and ink stains. Outside the window, other children play. The girls stay home, learning through observation and repetition. They help prepare food, mend clothes, care for younger siblings. Their education is less formal, but no less thorough. By the time they are 10, many can cook an entire meal, tell which herbs help with coughs, and fold bedding with military precision. In the afternoons, when chores allow, all children gather to play. They flip stones in a game of gongi, fly kites stitched from bamboo and paper, and spin tops along dusty paths. The laughter is real, loud, and fleeting. The moment someone calls their name, they scatter like startled birds. A boy tries to mimic a calligrapher's elegant swoop with a stick in the dirt. A girl braids blades of grass into rings and crowns. Their games borrow from the adult world, though they don't know it yet. Discipline is expected, respect is constant, but childhood still has room for mischief, a stolen persimmon, a face smeared with soot, a slipper misplaced and blamed on a sibling. By nightfall, they sleep easily, not from idleness, but from the full weight of a small but busy day. A Joseon morning is incomplete without the ritual of getting dressed. Clothes are not simply worn. They are layered, folded, tied, and respected. Each piece carries meaning, social, seasonal, even spiritual. For most, daily wear is modest and practical. Cotton hanbok in pale shades of white, cream, or light grey. Dyed garments exist, but bright colors are reserved for special occasions or higher ranks. The fabric is light in summer, thicker and quilted in winter. It wrinkles easily, but no one seems to mind. Wrinkles are part of life. The outfit begins with the yogori, a short jacket tied with a thin ribbon, followed by the chima or baji, the skirt or pants depending on gender. Over this, an apron for work or a vest for warmth. Children often go barefoot, while adults wear straw sandals or padded shoes, depending on the weather. Hair is equally important. It is combed each morning with wooden brushes and tied neatly. For unmarried girls, it hangs in long braids down the back. Married women twist it into buns and secure it with a long ornamental hairpin called a binyo. The binyo can be carved from bone, wood, or silver, and sometimes passed down from mother to daughter. Men wear their hair in top knots, the sangtu, wrapped in black horsehair caps if required by age or status. A father might assist his son with a knot in silence, the two of them kneeling in the same patch of morning light. Cleanliness is quiet, but ever present. Each day begins with a rinse at the basin or well. Faces are splashed, teeth brushed with salt or crushed herbs, and hands washed without ceremony. Perfume is rare, but natural scents linger. Fresh laundry, rice powder, the faint sweetness of mugwort soap. Nails are kept short. Ears are checked. A mother straightens her daughter's collar with a firm tug, then smooths it flat. It's not just about appearance. It's about discipline, about pride, about facing the world correctly. Even when no visitors are expected, clothes are tidy. Even when the day promises only dust and chores, hair is neatly bound. To be well kept is not vanity. It is a way of showing care for oneself, for one's family, and for the day ahead. Bathing in Joseon, Korea, is a quiet affair, without marble halls or rushing pipes. It takes place with bowls, basins, and water carried by hand. There is no schedule written down, but the body remembers. The rhythm of cleaning fits naturally between chores, meals, and rest. Near the kitchen, a mother fills a wide ceramic basin with water drawn fresh from the well. She adds a pinch of ash or crushed beans, then stirs with her hand until the surface ripples. Beside her lies a bundle of towels, old cloths but clean, and a bar of soap made from lard and lye, or sometimes ground mugwort leaves. Children are called one by one, the youngest first. They sit on low stools while their mothers pour warm water over their backs, scrub gently with cloths, and rinse again. The children squirm, complain, laugh, then settle. The smell of clean skin and damp cotton rises into the air. Older children wash themselves now, splashing their faces with chilly water, wiping dust from their legs, checking their ears because someone always checks after. There's no luxury in it, just a sense of return, to freshness, to order, to readiness. Adults bathe in the same way, not every day, but often enough to keep themselves decent. On colder nights, hot stones are heated near the fire and dropped into metal basins to warm the water. The steam rolls out in thick, lazy curls, fogging up windows and softening joints. There is no bathroom mirror, just a polished piece of brass held up to the light. A woman checks her parting line. A man inspects the corner of his jaw for stray whiskers. There's no fuss, no cosmetics beyond what is needed. A dab of powder, a comb run through damp hair. Clean laundry is brought out and slipped on without ceremony. The same white cotton, but now cool against newly washed skin. In summer, the washing is done under trees, shirts hung over branches, sleeves swaying like slow pendulums. In winter, steam clings to wooden walls and bare feet tap quickly against cold floors. There's peace in the act, not indulgence, not retreat, just a quiet knowledge that to wash away the day's dust is its own kind of dignity. The kitchen is the warmest place in the house, and not just from the fire. It is where the day gathers itself, where aromas linger, oil crackles, and the air is thick with intention. In a Joseon household, the kitchen is set slightly below the living floor. You step down into it, as if entering a different world. The earthen floor is cool underfoot, packed hard by generations of footsteps. The walls are darkened by years of smoke. The ceiling low enough to brush with a raised hand. At the center is the hearth, 3 or 4 stone openings where blackened pots rest, their lids snug and heavy. The wood fire is coaxed carefully, never rushed. A bad fire is worse than no fire. One woman fans the embers, while another chops scallions with a dull but trusted knife. Food is stored in ongi, large clay jars that line the back wall or sit beneath the porch outside. Fermented soybean paste, red pepper powder, pickled vegetables, dried fish. Every jar is sealed with a stone or wooden lid and marked by memory. Everyone knows what is where, even without labels. A child brings water in a gourd bottle, nearly dropping it as she passes it to her mother. No scolding, just a glance and a gesture to be more careful next time. The gourd is rinsed and hung back on its hook. The cutting board is worn smooth. Scallions, garlic, and radish are diced with rhythmic taps. A pan is set to heat, sesame oil added with a swirl. The smell rises immediately, nutty, familiar, mouth-watering. A pot of barley bubbles gently on the rear burner. Another simmers seaweed soup. A hand reaches in to stir, then tastes with the tip of a chopstick. A pinch of salt is added, not too much. The ingredients are simple, but the timing is exact. Outside, a hen clucks. Inside, a daughter carefully folds dumplings at a small table, her fingers pinching the edges just as her grandmother taught her. No clocks tick here. Time is kept by the feel of the dough, the smell of the broth, the sound of boiling turning to simmer. When the meal is ready, it is not announced with a shout, just a soft call through the paper doors. Bowls are arranged, trays are lifted, and the warmth of the kitchen follows them into the next room like a quiet guest. On market day, the village wakes a little earlier, not with chaos, but with quiet purpose. The carts are loaded the night before. Baskets are repaired. Coin pouches are checked and tied to sashes. The road to the market begins to fill before the sun has fully lifted the fog. Farmers walk beside their oxen, pulling carts piled high with cabbages, bundles of firewood, woven straw mats. Their footsteps mark the dirt path with soft, damp impressions. As the market square comes into view, it doesn't explode into colour. It unfolds. Mats are laid down on the packed earth. Goods are arranged in rows that seem informal, but follow a logic everyone understands. Dried herbs sit beside medicinal roots. Rice cakes are wrapped in leaves and stacked like bricks. Fabric bolts are draped over wooden frames, their ends fluttering slightly in the breeze. Vendors sit cross-legged behind their wares, hands busy with small repairs or folding cloth. They do not shout. Instead, they wait. Their presence says enough. Regulars know who sells the best fish, whose tofu crumbles too easily, which apples are too shiny to be trusted. Shoppers arrive in waves, young mothers with infants tied to their backs, old men hunched over walking sticks, children trailing behind with wide eyes and silent hopes. A few young boys sneak roasted chestnuts from a vendor's basket, but she only swats the air in their direction. She knew it would happen. She brought extra. Transactions are quiet, punctuated by slow nods and slight bows. Prices are rarely argued, not because they are always fair, but because the relationship is worth more than a few coins. Someone beats a small drum to attract attention. Then begins a song half sung, half shouted. A crowd gathers, not to buy, but to listen. For a moment, the market breathes together. At one corner, a man repairs wooden sandals while telling stories no one quite believes. Beside him, a girl sells ink sticks wrapped in paper printed with floral patterns. She presses them into hands like small, fragrant promises. The sun climbs, shade becomes valuable. The rhythm slows. By afternoon, some mats are already empty. Chickens are tied by the feet, vegetables wrapped in cloth, coins tucked away again. And just like that, the market begins to fold back into itself. Goods packed, baskets lifted, conversations finished mid-sentence, to be resumed next week. Not all hours are claimed by work. Between tasks and meals, in the slow dips of the day, time softens. People lean back, stretch out their legs, and allow stillness to gather without guilt. Leisure in Joseon is not loud. It does not demand attention. It waits patiently, like an old friend invited in for tea. A man sits beneath the shade of a ginkgo tree, cradling a gyagium across his lap. Its 12 silk strings hum beneath his fingers, not in performance but in practice. The notes rise slowly, one by one, each with space to settle. No one claps when he finishes. He was not playing for applause. Inside a nearby courtyard, an elderly woman hums to herself while sorting beans. The melody is circular, a song she's known since childhood. She doesn't sing to fill the air. She sings because it follows her hands. Children gather in dusty yards with pebbles and carved wooden tops. They squat low to the ground, flicking stones in practiced arcs or spinning their toys until they fall over, defeated by gravity and laughter. No one wins. No one minds. In another home, two brothers pass a set of ute sticks back and forth, flipping them into the air and counting their fall. The rules are remembered halfway, then argued gently. Their mother watches from the doorway, shaking her head but smiling. Tea is poured in small cups without ceremony. Sometimes a neighbor brings roasted barley wrapped in cloth. Sometimes the tea is little more than hot water and a leaf. It is enough. A travelling peddler arrives with flutes and drums strapped to his back. He sets up near the market path, playing a tune that draws a crowd. He smiles with missing teeth and taps a rhythm that quickens the feet of passing children. A few coins are tossed into his bowl, more for joy than for music. In homes with paper walls, laughter is muffled but unmistakable. A joke lands well. A story finds its rhythm. The sun casts shadows through window lattice, patterned like old paintings. No grand entertainments appear. No fireworks, no stages, no headlines. But joy is there, in fingers on strings, in games without winners, in shared silences between sips. The day has space for it, not much, but enough. As the sun slips behind the hills, the village exhales. The sharpness of daylight fades into a warm blur. Shadows stretch across courtyards, and the sounds of evening begin. The clatter of bowls, the sweep of a broom, the soft clink of chopsticks being laid out in pairs. Inside the home, the evening meal takes shape. It's not a feast, but it is never rushed. Rice is steamed again, not because it has changed, but because it must be warm. A soup simmers quietly, its broth made from what was saved earlier. Side dishes return to the table, replenished or reheated. Kimchi, of course. A few roots. Maybe a bit of fish, salted and pan-fried until the skin crackles. The low tables are set and brought into the main room. Each person has their own tray, each tray arranged with care. The father sits first, then the children by order of age. The mother serves last, taking her place only when the food is ready and everyone else is settled. Conversations start gently. How much barley was harvested? Which neighbour's cow escaped again? Whether the eldest son remembered to bring home ink for his studies. Next door, a visiting uncle is joined for the evening. He brings news from a cousin's village in a small bag of dried persimmons. They are passed around, one per person, chewed slowly and savoured. Sweetness is not taken for granted. Neighbours often drift between homes during this time, bowls in hand or bare feet, tapping across stone paths. A shared dish here, a borrowed pan there. Gossip flows more freely at dusk. Voices carry across courtyards, low and steady. Children sit cross-legged and wide-eyed, listening to grown-ups speak. They pretend not to understand but catch every word. A joke earns a round of quiet laughter. A sigh means the story is ended. When the meal ends, bowls are rinsed with hot water and set upside down to dry. The table is wiped. Leftovers are wrapped in cloth and placed in the coolest part of the home. Outside, someone feeds scraps to the dog. Someone else checks that the gate is shut. The family settles into their usual places. The comfort of familiar faces and predictable routines wrapping around them like a second blanket. Nothing spectacular has happened, and yet the day feels full. Beneath the structure of the family and the elegance of the hanok, another layer of life carries the weight of the day. These are the hands that rise earlier, eat later, and speak more with actions than with words. In wealthier homes, servants move like shadows, present but not always noticed. A maid sweeps the yard before the rooster calls, her broom carving lines in the dust. A cook wakes before the house does, crouched near the hearth coaxing fire from ash. They do not expect thanks. The work is the role, and the role is inherited, like the tools they use. Some were born into these duties. Others arrived through misfortune. Their surnames are rarely spoken. Instead, they're known by their task or their place. Water girl, kitchen boy, the one who carries rice. In the countryside, hired hands sleep in sheds or barns. They mend fences, herd cattle, chop wood. A tenant farmer bows to the landowner's son, not out of fondness, but habit. His shirt is patched in 5 places, and he wears it like armor. Low-born traders walk from village to village, carrying their livelihood on their backs. Some sell thread, some knives, some herbs for coughs that never quite go away. They know the faces of the roads better than they know their own. The butcher lives on the outskirts, not because he prefers it, but because the rules say he must. His work is necessary, but unclean in the eyes of the law. People avoid his gaze in public, but they seek him quietly when a pig must be slaughtered. His knife is the sharpest in the region, but no one compliments it aloud. Children of these classes play in separate corners. They understand early which homes they may enter and which ones only to bow before. The parents teach them not bitterness, but caution. Pride comes later, if it comes at all. Still, there is dignity. A pot scrubbed spotless, firewood stacked evenly, a meal carried without spilling. There are small victories, claimed without noise, and even for those who labor without title or recognition, the moon rises the same way. Its light touches all roofs equally, whether tiled or thatched. The night does not ask who you are, only whether your work is done. Time in Joseon, Korea is not marked by clocks, but by the turn of the soil, the taste of the air, and the angle of light through morning mist. The seasons are more than weather. They are instructions. They tell people when to plant, when to harvest, when to pray, and when to rest. In spring, the earth softens and the markets brighten. New greens appear in bundles, and families gather to prepare for the year's first Jessa rites. Grave cleaning is done without complaint. Hands scrub stone markers, weeds are pulled, and ancestors are greeted with bowed heads and quiet murmurs. Summer brings rice paddies flooded and gleaming. Bare legs sink into the muck, and wide-brimmed hats become essential. Children catch dragonflies. Elders fan themselves beneath porches, and meals are cooled with slices of cucumber and cups of barley tea. Sweat becomes part of the uniform. Autumn is sharper. The wind smells dry and leaves crunch underfoot. Harvest festivals arrive, most notably Chuseok. Families travel to reunite, arms full of gifts, fresh fruit, new clothes, bundles of rice cakes, tables grown with food meant for the living and the dead alike. The air fills with the smell of grilled fish and sesame oil. At night, women fold handkerchiefs and prepare songpyeon, small half-moon rice cakes pressed with patterns and steamed over pine needles. Children sneak extras when they think no one is looking. Someone always sees, but no one scolds, not during the holidays. Winter slows everything. The ground hardens. Fires burn longer. People wrap themselves in thick coats padded with cotton. And even the dogs sleep closer to the stove. Fermented jars are sealed tight, and meals become simpler. Root vegetables, preserved side dishes, hot broth poured over cold rice. Festival days come with music. Percussion bands parade through the streets, drums strapped across shoulders, cymbals clashing in bright bursts. Dancers wear bright masks, their steps rhythmic and exaggerated. For a moment, the rules soften. Laughter becomes louder. Faces are painted. Even the sternest old man finds himself tapping a foot. The year turns like a wheel. Predictable, yes, but never dull. Each season arrives with its own mood, its own chores, its own flavors and sounds. And through it all, life continues, not in leaps, but in steady steps, season by season, meal by meal, bough by bough. As dusk settles over the village, the colors of the day begin to blur. The outlines of the rooftops soften. The air cools against the skin, and the sound of sandals scuffing across the courtyard slows. Evening is not sudden. It arrives like steam from a pot, gradual, quiet, inevitable. In the courtyard, someone sweeps, not hurriedly, just enough to clear the dust that drifted in during the afternoon. Leaves, a few feathers, maybe the corner of a rice wrapper carried on the breeze. The broom moves with the rhythm of someone who has done this every evening for decades. Inside, the hearth is stoked one final time. A small fire is coaxed to life to warm the last pot of the day. Tea, maybe, or soup, thin but comforting. The light from the coals casts long shadows on the clay walls, stretching and shrinking as someone passes by. Children begin to settle, The youngest is already half asleep in someone's lap, fingers curled loosely around a bit of cloth. Older ones fold bedding in the main room, laying out mats side by side. There are no bedrooms, only spaces that change with the time of day. A man oils the hinge of a door, wiping the excess on a scrap of cotton. A woman folds the laundry she took in earlier, pressing each item flat with her hands. There is no rush. Night isn't something to beat, it's something to join. Neighbors call farewells across the fences. A last bowl is returned. A borrowed knife is handed back with a small nod. Lamps are lit one by one, oil lamps with flickering yellow flames, each cradled in ceramic or bronze. In the distance, a dog barks. A gate creaks. Someone coughs. But mostly, there is stillness. Above, the first stars appear, shy and slow. A child counts them aloud until someone tells them to hush. Not unkindly, just softly. The way all things are said now. The family gathers for a final few words. Not lessons, not stories. Just the business of tomorrow. Who will fetch the water? What needs mending? Whether the weather seems fair. Then the quiet deepens. The pots are empty. The shoes are lined by the door. The fire is left to fade. And the courtyard, once busy with footsteps, now holds only the echo of a broom and the promise of sleep. With the final flicker of the oil lamps, the house settles into darkness. The paper sliding doors close softly, folding the day away like a treasured scroll tucked back into its case. Outside, the village exhales one last time, the sounds fading into gentle whispers. Sleeping arrangements are simple but thoughtful. Families gather on warm ondol floors, mats laid side by side beneath hemp blankets. Children curl close to parents. Elders lie quietly near the hearth, their breath slow and steady. Privacy is scarce, but comfort is found in proximity. The cool night air seeps through the cracks in wooden beams and paper walls, but the lingering heat beneath the floor holds strong. It is enough to keep the chill from biting just. Outside, the moon rises pale and watchful. Its light washes over tiled roofs and quiet paths. Shadows stretch long and soft. Somewhere, an owl calls, a single solitary note that echoes briefly before the night swallows it whole. There are no city noises here, no whistles, no engines, no late footsteps. Just the distant rustle of leaves, the occasional bark of a dog, and the low hum of insects hidden in the fields. Dreams come slowly, like clouds drifting across a still sky. Some dream of the day's work, rows of rice, the flicker of firelight, the feel of familiar hands. Others dream of distant places they will never see, or stories whispered by ancestors. If someone stirs, a soft breath or a shifting blanket is all that breaks the silence. No harsh sounds, no sudden movements. Respect for rest is part of the night's order. In the deepest hours, the fire smoulders low beneath the floor, a silent guardian. Its warmth seeps upward, cradling the family in quiet safety. Morning will come again, as it always does, with new tasks and slow awakenings. But for now, the village sleeps under a sky full of stars, wrapped in the gentle embrace of a Joseon night. Thank you for joining this journey through a day in Joseon, Korea. May your own night be just as peaceful